Morning, everyone. I'll just say that it's been great. Different for us, obviously, to spring this late, but then also to do it continual in one big chunk. We usually break it up. So for the first time in years, we kind of get to that point where guys are chipping at each other because usually don't go 4 weeks straight. It's usually just 2 weeks, and we're off the field before guys get chippy at each other. But that happened this week, which is awesome. Um, uh, Really, I'm not going to say a whole bunch about injuries, of course, but been great to see some guys out there that have missed a lot of time, especially in the last year, if not the last 2 years. Ricky Miezon and Jacob Mangum Farrar taking big parts of practice has been awesome. They haven't played together really since they've been here. Haven't played for like the time, so those two guys are healthy and running around, which looks awesome. Still may keep both out of the spring game just for precautionary sake. Little Kafusi it just has been banged up for the last couple of years. To see him out there running around and healthy, it's been great. Ethan Bonner going full speed again. That's been good on the offensive side. I mean, two running backs that we think very highly of, and now are finally healthy. First of all, Dorian Maddox is now looking like his younger self again. Once they may hold him out of the spring game just because he's been great coming back, and Justice Woods as well, just being able to be full speed again. So both sides of the ball have guys that haven't been able to participate in a while, but are now back out there full go. I think the quarterback competition is going very well. Both guys have had their moments. Both guys have shown they can operate everything that we have. Our young guys are coming along, guys behind him. Ari Patu can really throw the ball. Still has his freshman mistake here, freshman mistake there, even though he's kind of a pre-freshman. But so excited, so grateful to our administration for allowing us to bring him in early. Once again, we're in progress. This will be end of a good week here. It's probably been one of our most competitive. We're gonna have a physical weekend. Then we'll taper back a little bit next week and get ready for Saturday's spring game. So I'll open up for questions.
First question will go Jacob Rayburn. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Coach. Some audio was put on social media recently of an answer to your question about NIL and how you're talking to recruits, and I imagine even current guys, about what your expectations are for what it actually means. I know we've had conversations about this before, but I'm curious specifically about having conversations with recruits and their parents about what their expectations are, maybe based on conversations they're having with other schools versus what you're kind of able to educate them on your expectations and what you want them to be able to accomplish at Stanford.
Yeah, so the NIL, it's still a bit of a cloud, right? And not in a negative way, in just it's partially physically there and partially missed. And I think it's still coming into form. I know the NCAA said something this week that they wanted to have more of an idea and more boundaries, because that's what I've been pushing for. The only thing I really care about is having boundaries for universities and have those things established. So we know what our rules are, right? We're not inhibiting the student athletes in any way, shape, or form, but we as entities should be, because I've heard a lot of things that honestly flat out sound like they shouldn't happen. I've heard certain places giving guys exact dollar values of how much money they're going to make. That's not a possibility, because this NIL has allowed them to seek their own ways of using their name, image, and likeness to make money. Not for the universities to give them money or to secure money for them. That's not our role, and that shouldn't be our role. So for as far as Stanford's concerned, we're big on education. We're big on connections. If you think about social media, I mean, all the major social media platforms not only started here, they're based here. And a lot of communication between our entity and their entities, I think, can help facilitate positive engagements for our student athletes, as well as how to operate in these spaces, right? Stanford's not going to go out there and make money for these guys. The whole idea is for us to teach them how to be marketable. And we've got a lot of guys that I've been pointing to for them to follow, that have done it without the education that we're going to give our guys on campus now. You look at Chris McCaffrey's social media, you look at Richard Sherman's social media, you look at Zach Ertz's social media, look at Dalton Schultz's social media. You find out what they're interested in. You find out what they're doing outside of football, their personality. You find out what deals they've made and things that they've secured, and the way they present themselves to the world is what makes you marketable. Not just their connection to the university. And that's what so many places are selling. Hey, you come here, you're going to be our guy. We're going to put our stamp on you, and you're going to make a whole bunch of money from XYZ. And the bottom line is that's just not going to be true. Looking at it in a professional way, any team wins a championship, whether it's a Super Bowl or an NBA championship. Some guys get big commercials, some guys don't, right? It's whoever's got the personality, whoever made the plays. Sometimes it's not who made the plays. Sometimes it's just who's better at this whole media thing. So there are a lot of different ways for guys to engage and make money off of their name, image, and likeness. And that's going to be our job to help educate them on how to do that and to perpetuate that, and not to say, hey, you're going to shake hands with 10 alumni and they're just going to buy everything that you put out there so you can make money. That's not what this thing is going to be about. And honestly, in the long run, that's not going to be fruitful to that young person. We're preparing these guys for life, right? That's what university is supposed to be about. And this NIL to me is not going to be any different. We're going to educate them. We're going to help them engage in this new world, in this new space, and find ways for them to, which is the whole thing is supposed to be about, engage in a way to make themselves marketable so they can make some money off of their own name, image, and likeness.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Next is Kyle Bonagura. Kyle, go ahead.
Hey, David. Obviously, some news yesterday in the Pac-12, the new commissioner coming on board. Did you have any kind of initial impressions on him? Obviously, it's tough if you weren't familiar with him before. And then on top of that, what do you think is the most important for you as a football coach in the conference, for the conference to kind of address in this new era? If you have any other kind of general thoughts on that.
Yeah. First of all, I heard a rumor that it was you, Kyle. I was pretty excited.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They wanted to pay me too much money, and I just felt really bad about that. So
yeah, like most of the athletic world, I had never heard the name before. That's not a negative thing. It's just kind of out of the blue. So like everybody else, I did the old social media and Google stalking just to kind of see who we're dealing with. And background is outstanding and very interesting, and watched some interviews and like the way he expresses himself. So we'll ride with him. Obviously, he apparently was unanimous amongst the Pac-12 presidents and chancellors, and the athletic directors are pretty excited. I've been pretty open about this. Job number one right now is our new TV contract. The how far we've been behind the other major conferences financially and exposure wise is beyond significant, and we have to make up that gap. Yes, we need to make up the gap on the field. Some of us believe there's not that big of a gap, but what we do to ourselves because of our TV contract, our travel, our late night games, our playing 9 games in a really difficult out of conference schedule, which of course, we're the head of the line there, especially going into the 2021 season, doesn't compare to what the other conferences are doing. So we've talked about this before. Comparing our schedules to those schedules, it's apples and oranges. To have a nine game conference schedule with some teams that don't have a bye for 10 weeks against an 8-game conference schedule with an FCS, at least one FCS opponent, and 1 or 2 byes, just not comparable. So the idea is for us to make up those gaps in both our TV revenue, our exposure, our scheduling, and all those things kind of really start on the desk of the new commissioner. And I know he'll have the support of all 12 entities as we go forward. And hopefully we can start to make some hay there, and that'll show up on the field, in the court, on the pools, and all those things.
Or, early on in the search process, I'm curious if you or, any of the other coaches in the conference were able to provide some input about, what you guys thought would be important for that role.
I think our offices are a little bit too small to be involved in that decision making process. I think this was the presidents, provosts, and athletic directors maybe had a little bit in on it, but most of the guys will tell you exactly what I just said. The way that we're able to operate so differently than the other conferences, the TV contract, the revenue, as well as our scheduling. Most of the coaches would say the exact same thing. Those are the things that are on the forefront of our mind. So whoever can make the biggest improvement there is the person, of course, that we would be rooting for. And hopefully that's what happened yesterday.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Next question will be from Troy Clarity. Go ahead, Troy.
Hey, Coach, good to see you at lacrosse last week. Two things. One, what's the format of the spring game going to be? A couple of years ago, you guys weren't able to go full speed because there was no offensive line, basically. Any initial thoughts on what the format of the spring game is going to look like this time around?
First of all, that's Pac-12 champion lacrosse, Stanford lacrosse team.
That's right.
But yeah, it's still kind of coming into form. Depending on how we finish this week, we will be able to go live. We'll be able to tackle. The length of it we're still determining depending on our health status. The scoring may or may not be some of the way it's been before. We may just go out there and practice without a score. We may find a way to keep a score, kind of depending on how we can put the team on the field. As I said, we've got some guys that have had great springs that we're really excited about, but they have a little bit of an injury history. So we're going to pull some of those guys out of the spring game. But it should be a lot of fun. We have a lot of young guys in particular. I'm excited to see our young linebackers, our young running backs, a couple of young tight ends that we were really counting on to take the next step. We've got some great young defensive backs that have made some plays this offseason. So excited those guys get out there and show what they can do. But yeah, it'll be the format is still coming together, but it should be physical and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, defensively, which unit to this point do you feel the best about right now?
I feel great about our defense, and to me, it starts with what I opened up this the talk about is our health. We've played the last 2 years probably at somewhere between 70 and 80% capacity on the defensive side, and I've said it over and over, to Lance Anderson. We put so much pressure on him to call the perfect game and make the perfect call, and that's not how you want to play. You want to, as a defense coordinator, you want to go out to the game day and just let those guys loose and be aggressive. And I don't think we've been able to do that. We've had really good play by a lot of our guys, but we played 2 seasons without two guys that I think are outstanding inside linebackers. That's Ricky Maison and Jacob Mangler-Farrar. Gabe Reed has switched back there and has done a great job making that switch. But we got multiple guys there that I think have a chance to really make an influence on this football team. So it's tough to say, but our linebacking core, if we can be healthy, is really exciting. Stephen Herron has made a big jump this offseason. Faster, stronger, better handle on that at that position, which is a little bit different than the way he played in high school. We felt his presence on the offensive side as an edge rusher. So there's so many guys right now, and I think we're a lot deeper than people know, partially because we've been so injured. But if we can be healthy, the way that we're running around, and it looks like those great defenses that we've had in the past that have led us to Pac-12 championships and Rose Bowl championships.
Thanks.
Next question will be from Kyle Kenting. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned that schedule, and with it being as tough as it is right from the jump, do you feel like this late spring practice kind of gives you almost like an early start on fall camp? Is it kind of beneficial to have leading into such a tough slate?
No, for me, it doesn't change the spring. It really puts a lot on our summer training, particularly with the new rules that are coming out to really prepare the team for a long physical season. And once again, it's almost apples and rocks really compared to some of our conference, our schedule compared to other schedules we look around the nation where people are playing 8 conference games, which really only 5 of them are competitive, and then 2 non-competitive out of conference games and 1 competitive out of conference game and 2 buys, right? And that's a walk in the park compared to engage on. But for me, it's about our summer, how we train in the summer, which for me de-emphasizes the spring, especially since it's so late. We want it to be competitive. We want our young guys to make a jump. But this spring to me is all about preparing guys for the summer. We've tackled less than we've ever tackled in the spring before, really working on skills, really working on technique, really working on guys understanding and playing fast, more so than really playing a lot of game-like stuff for us in spring. It's really just preparing for our guys to train this summer so that we can enter the season deep and healthy, because the season that the schedule we have coming up, guys are going to get banged up, guys are going to get tired, and we're going to be deep at every single position. And if we can play like we're capable of with the depth that we have going into this season, it should be a lot of fun.
Next question is from Jacob Raber. Go ahead, Jacob.
Coach, you actually just touched on a part of my question about guys moving around a bit. I heard about Gabe at inside backer, and then is Aeneas DeCosmo an outside backer now?
Yes, Aeneas made the full switch to outside linebacker. Really did that towards the end of last year, and really took to it. It's kind of what he played in high school. We really saw his build as more of an inside linebacker, and he did fine there. We really did, and we're kind of excited about him there. He asked to go back outside and try to compete, and it's probably a little bit more natural for him. But it's been great for him too. Now we know down the road this guy can be able to bounce back and forth, and I think that's what makes him valuable to us, is that he can be a guy that plays on special teams and at the same time can be ready to play either position.
Any other position switches that you guys are tinkering around with? I know Tucker Fisk, getting reps at defensive line, and that's not really necessarily injury related. That is something that can go on into the season. Anyone else who maybe is asked to bounce around a little bit?
As right now, that's pretty much it. Tucker's an interesting case. We've always recruited him as a tight end, and Dyron Reynolds has always been in my ear since the first time we saw his film. About, man, it looks like a defensive lineman to me. Didn't his dad play defensive line? Didn't his dad play with you? Wasn't he a defensive line? Didn't he play in the NFL on defensive line? So Coach Reynolds has been kind of chirping about him for 4 years now. And Tucker really came to me and asked if he could give it a shot over there. And I said, sure. Are we potentially broaching an Owen Marisic type of an endeavor? Quite possibly. He's got that kind of ability. They're just very, very few human beings that are 280 pounds, that are quick and explosive and physical, that can pass rush and at the same time can block the gap schemes. So it's gone past the experiment stage right now, and really, really intriguing to make sure first and foremost that we don't run him ragged and put him in position to be injured. But at the same time, he has a skill set that really might be able to play in both of those areas. So we'll see how it looks after we finish spring, and we'll do some more tinkering during fall camp and see how we start the season.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Any other questions for Coach Shaw? All right, Coach, appreciate the time. Thank you to everyone for joining. We will send out audio and video shortly. Have a good rest of the day and good weekend.
Thanks, everybody.